Before the dinosaurs, our planet looked like this. Dinosaurs weren't the first creatures to inhabit our planet. Before them, there were many other forms of life, and there were also many catastrophes. So if you want to know what Earth was like before the dinosaurs, subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and as usual, hit that like button. So now let's go back to the beginning. Or rather, the beginning of our Earth. Approximately 4.5 billion years ago, the planet Earth had its start. The sun was surrounded by dust and rocks, drifting and colliding around it. These collisions eventually formed the Earth, and for a long time it was hot, resembling a ball of fire. Because of this, it could not support any life as its surface was entirely covered in boiling magma. However, after some time, a celestial body the size of Mars, called Theia, began to approach our direction and collided with the Earth. This event formed our moon. From then on, the planet began to cool down, and around 3.9 billion years ago, liquid water started to appear on Earth, marking the beginning of the Archean Eon. The word eon signifies a vast interval of time, an indeterminate period, and the history of Earth is divided into 4 eons: the Hadean, the Archean, the Proterozoic, and the Phanerozoic. So for today's video, let's focus on the Phanerozoic Eon, which is the current eon. It is said to have begun around 542 million years ago, and Phanerozoic means visible life, because it was during this eon that there was a great explosion of life on planet Earth. Most of the fossils found come from this period of history. The Phanerozoic Eon is divided into 3 eras: the Paleozoic era, the Mesozoic era, and the Cenozoic era. Within each of these eras, there are periods to better divide this vast expanse of millions of years, which is indeed a long time. So within the Paleozoic era, there is the Cambrian Period, which lasted from 542 to 485 million years ago. The climate was mild, with no glaciation, and the most widely accepted scientific theory is that during this time plants were represented only by marine algae. The Earth did not yet have the vegetation cover it has today. However, modern studies suggest that there were some terrestrial plants that emerged around 600 million years ago. It was precisely during this period that the greatest diversification of life occurred. An event known as the Cambrian explosion occurred, during which a lot of life emerged in a relatively short period of time. So animals were mainly marine creatures like graptolites, trilobites, mollusks, echinoderms, corals, and various others. And trilobites were the dominant creatures of that time. These trilobites were extinct marine organisms with a segmented body in 3 parts and a complex visual system similar to that of present-day insects. They lived for over 300 million years, underwent several evolutions, and survived 2 mass extinctions. However, they disappeared long before the first dinosaur footprint appeared on Earth. You see how vast time is, right? Around 520 million years ago, the first vertebrate animals began to emerge. Moving forward a bit in time, around 485 to 443 million years ago, we reached the Ordovician Period, during which marine invertebrates dominated, and it was precisely during this time that the first gigantic creatures appeared, such as marine arthropods of 2 meters in size. In this period, the climate had moderate temperatures, and our atmosphere was very humid. However, in the end, large glaciers formed, which likely caused the mass extinction of that time. About 60% of all genera and 25% of marine invertebrates went extinct. The Silurian period occurred between 443 and 416 million years ago. During this period, the regions that are now North America, Europe, Asia, and Oceania were submerged for a long time, but then they emerged from the water again. It was during this time that the first freshwater jawed fishes and insects resembling spiders and centipedes appeared. It was also during this time that a marine scorpion measuring 2.5 meters emerged. The current scorpions that scare many people don't exceed 30 centimeters. Imagine a scorpion larger than a person. It's crazy. Between this period and the next, ammonites emerged, marine animals that occupied the ecological niche of present-day squids, and ammonites lasted a long time on Earth, going extinct along with the dinosaurs many years later. From this point in history, Terrestrial life gained more strength between 470 and 420 million years ago when plants began to take over, and arthropods began to invade the terrestrial environment. Advancing a bit in time, from 416 to 359 million years ago, we reached the period known as the Devonian Period, the period in which the first marine beings evolved, giving rise to other forms of life. It was then that the first amphibians and flying insects appeared. Imagine everything suddenly transitioning from water to land, from nothing to flying. It's insane. During this period, many marine plants adapted, increasingly fixing themselves in the terrestrial environment. And it was also during this period that the first forests were created, and the oxygen level in the air was already very similar to that of today. 375 million years ago, the strange Tiktaalik emerged, the first fish capable of walking out of water. Moving on to around 359 to 290.9 million years ago, we reached the Carboniferous Period. Just a note, folks, the numbers are decreasing because we count backward before Christ, so as time moves closer to the present, it decreases. The beginning of the Earth was 4.5 billion years ago, reaching zero, and then from there to 2023. But let's go back to the Carboniferous Period. The Carboniferous Period was the time when large forests and massive coal deposits emerged. It was also during this period, the Carboniferous Period, that the transition from life in water to land began. Tetrapods, which were the first birds, reptiles, and mammals, emerged. Additionally, during this period, there were various giant insects, like dragonflies the size of airplanes. Just kidding, not airplane-sized, but as large as cars. According to scientists, animals were giant during this time due to abundant oxygen. Towards the end of this period, reptiles acquired the ability to reproduce on land, and a continent called Pangaea formed. At that time, everything was attached to Pangaea. In fact, it was a supercontinent. This is the last period of the Paleozoic era. After it comes the transition to the Mesozoic era, the era when dinosaurs emerged. The Permian period lasted from 298 to 252 million years. As we mentioned, during this time there was only one continent, Pangaea, and consequently, only one ocean, a global ocean called Panthalassa. This Permian period began at the end of an ice age, so in some areas it was as cold as 4 degrees. At the beginning of this period, there was less oxygen in the air than now, but even then, a human, for example, if they existed at that time, would still be able to breathe. Things gradually warmed up, and 290 million years ago, the Earth warmed up. Once again, life flourished on that supercontinent, and plants and animals began to evolve and spread. There was a rapid evolution of insects and animal life in general. Plants had seeds known as gymnosperms. The terrestrial fauna was dominated by insect-like cockroaches, but they were giants. This species was called Anthracoblatina mendesi, measuring 5 to 7 centimeters long and were excellent runners. Advancing a bit in time, we reached 280 million years, a period when Gymthoridon lived, an extinct ancestor of primitive mammals. It was a reptilian mammal similar to a lizard, appearing more mammal-like than reptilian. It reached 5 meters in length and weighed 225 kilograms. 10 million years later, at 270 million years, several animals emerged that were neither reptiles nor mammals. They belonged to the synapsid class. One of these animals was Lophostrophius, carnivorous and about 1 meter long. Dinosaurs did not yet exist at this time, and the Earth continued to warm up, though just a bit, because these creatures were somewhat reptilian, somewhat mammalian, almost like dinosaurs. Apparently so. Volcanoes were releasing gases and greenhouse effects into the atmosphere, and the average temperature was 25 degrees C. Due to climate change, sea levels were fluctuating. Ancient sharks and primitive fish with cartilaginous skeletons existed in the oceans. Many other complex marine species emerged and appeared as the sea continued to change. It was about 260 million years ago when this strange reptile emerged, resembling an alien hippo. This odd little creature was called Lystrosaurus. It looked like a mix of a lizard, a hippo, and a pig. It wasn't very large, only about 1 meter long, herbivorous, and had legs, powerful diggers. Then this lizard appeared. Folks, resembling a mammal also known as nodon. It looked like a giant rodent about 1 meter long, had whiskers, and fed on small animals and insects. Volcanic activities were increasing, meaning the temperature on Earth continued to rise. And 250 million years ago, the first truly large reptiles emerged, but they weren't dinosaurs yet. They were Scutosaurus. They reached up to 3 meters in length and were true gigantic creatures, weighing over a ton, and they were herbivores. However, it was around this time that the most deadly event in our planet's history occurred. This tragic moment is called the Great Extinction and happened around 250 million years ago. It was the most devastating mass extinction event on Earth, as 95% of all plant and animal life forms were wiped out. Scientists still debate what caused this extinction. Most theories suggest it was massive volcanic activity. Huge volcanic eruptions would have swept across the continent, releasing a lot of ash into the atmosphere, which would have blocked almost all sunlight reaching the planet. Without sunlight, temperatures plummeted rapidly. Plants couldn't carry out photosynthesis and thus died of starvation. Without plants, herbivorous animals also died, and without live herbivores, the carnivores also died. Additionally, the ocean lost most of its oxygen, so most marine animals also perished. Among the marine species that survived this extinction are sharks, cephalopods, giant amphibians, and marine scorpions. The rest perished. In summary, over 95% of marine species and 70% of land animals went extinct. But folks, this wasn't the end of our Earth. It was a momentary end because new life on the planet was arriving. So, over many, many years, the Earth recovered from this great catastrophe. And 180 million years ago, a new species emerged to repopulate the Earth. Now, finally, we've arrived at the famous dinosaurs. It was precisely in this period, the Mesozoic era, also called the Age of Dinosaurs, that they emerged, dominated, and then were extinct. They reigned on our planet for about 165 million years, until another catastrophe occurred about 66 million years ago. But you already know this story from several videos, and you surely know it well. If you don't know, search for the video showing you what the Earth was like before the dinosaurs. Well, we hope you enjoyed it. If you truly liked it, leave a like, don't forget to comment on what you thought of the video, and subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. We're done here, folks. Thanks, everyone. See you later.